Hey guys, it's Therapy Thursday, and today I want to talk to you about the giants in your life. We all have giants in our lives, and for some of us, our giants are very overwhelming. For most of us, they're overwhelming. And we all have different giants in our life, don't we? For some people, that giant is obesity. For some people, that giant is low self-esteem. For some people, that giant is mental illness. For some, it's an abusive relationship. For some people, it may be something along the lines of a financial problem. And for some people, it could be bad friendships or a traumatic past or whatever. But we all have giants that we have to face in our lives. And our giants, our Goliaths in our lives, come to help us learn, come to help us grow, to help us prosper, and to help us get to the other side. So, if you don't face the giants that you have in your life, then, you are really preventing yourself from moving forward. Because what happens is when we sit there and we look at that giant and we do like the Israelites did, and we go back and hide in the tent because it's too much, it's too unsafe, it's too risky, then what we find ourselves doing in our lives is remaining stagnant, not moving forward, and sometimes even going backwards. So you got to not be like the Israelites. The Israelites, they were getting punked by Goliath. But David showed up on the scene and did in one day what that army couldn't do in weeks. He faced Goliath. And it's time for you to face that giant. It's time for you to stop being punked by obesity, to stop being punked by mental illness, stop being punked by that abusive person that's abusing you. Mentally, physically, sexually, whatever type of abuse is going on. It's time for you to stop being punked by the creditors, the collection agencies, or whoever it is that's harassing you. It's time for you to stop being punked by low self-esteem. It's time for you to stop being punked by that person or those people who are trying to make you feel inadequate because they feel inadequate. It's time for you to face Goliath. It's time for you to face those giants. When will you show up on the scene like David did and say, enough is enough? Today is the day. This has to go. So I encourage you to face your giants today. I encourage you to be like David. And I want you to understand, too, that, there is something of eternal significance that you have to battle against, that we all have to battle against. It's all in the plan. So it's time for you to gear up and engage. Okay? So gaining victory over the giant in your life means, for some of us, that we have to change our mindset and that we have to change our surroundings. Some people have to go. Some things have to go. Some habits have to go. Some thoughts have to go. And, those things just have to change in order for you to get to the other side. So I want you to determine what needs to happen, what needs to change in order for you to show up on the scene and tell Goliath, he, she, it, they have to go. Today is the day. Enough is enough. Hey, we're going to the other side. It's time to answer that call. It's time to remember what you've worked for. It's time for you to remember that there was and is purpose that is connected to your life. And so if you're not living that, if you're not believing that, then you're not running the race that you're supposed to be living and running. See, some of us don't want to run our own race because it's too scary. It's too risky. It's too much. You got to answer the call. And it's like, oh my gosh, so that's the call? Well, that's a little bit too much for me. Your race may be a little more risky than others. Stop trying to run somebody else's race and stop trying to allow other people to run your race because it's too scary. And I'll tell you what, if you're running somebody else's race, it's because you haven't yet figured out what your race is. And that's just as bad. So figure out what your call is, what your race is. Stay in that lane. And for those of you who are not running your race at all or anybody else's race because it's too scary or too risky, it's time for you to step up and say, today is the day. I'm running my race. I'm answering the call. I'm going to defeat this giant because this giant is going to, defeating this giant, victory over this giant is going to catapult me to the next phase. Hey, I'm Carmel Brown, and I will talk to you soon. We are going to the other side.